You are listening to Viewpoints from PlaceCloud. Cultural researchers tell stories of places from around the world. For the full multimedia experience and to support the creators you enjoy, visit placecloud.io.
The labyrinth is one of the oldest known devices, older even than the written word. It is somehow tangled with our psyches. Some entertained in the grandest possible manner. The Labyrinth of Versailles, built in 1668, boasted 39 fountains illustrating Aesop's fables. Some concealed the secrets of kings. The Cretan Labyrinth, for instance, which imprisoned the Minotaur, or Rosamund's Bower in Woodstock, designed to hide Henry II's mistress. For Herodotus and other classical historians, the greatest mazes were the pyramids and burial chambers of the pharaohs. The Sami people in Finnmark used labyrinths to symbolize the transition to the afterlife, and some Mesoamerican cultures believed that wicked souls could be mazed in the underworld, trapping them there forever. The turns of the labyrinth are the turns of life and death. The maze is complex and profound and fraught with meaning. At least it ought to be. Although Hampton Court Maze is among the most famous mazes in the world, it's also a bit of a joke. Professor Rouse Ball, for instance, disparaged it as a very poor specimen of its kind. No labyrinth is worthy of the name of a puzzle which can be threaded in this way. W.H. Matthews, one of the first historians to specialise in mazes, damns it with faint praise. It has a pattern with quite sufficient of the puzzle about it to sustain interest and to cause amusement, and a path without a needless and tedious excess of intricacy. In the maze's most famous fictional outing, Jerome K. Jerome's 3 Men in a Boat, its simplicity is exaggerated to no end. Harris guides his country cousin, saying, "It's absurd to call it a maze. You keep on taking the first turning to the right. We'll just walk around for 10 minutes and go and get some lunch." Of course they get lost. A couple of hours later they shout for the maze keeper, who goes in to help, and also gets lost. Hampton Court Maze was planted for William III between 1689 and 1695 by landscape gardeners George London and Henry Wise, though it probably displaced an older design from when Cardinal Wolsey first built the palace. London and Wise were training a garden boy, Stephen Switzer, who became a garden designer in his own right, but even as a child he could see the problems with its design. Later he wrote that a maze should be so intricate as to lose oneself therein, and to meet with so great a number of steps therein and disappointments as possible. Hampton Court's 4 dead ends paled in comparison to Switzer's own design, with 20. Switzer was about 10 years old when it was being built. It's a miracle that the maze still stands. Soon after it was built, natural landscape gardening became popular instead, with planned wildernesses, fences hidden in sunken ha-has, and mock Gothic ruins. The hedge maze's overt boundaries and focus on a central goal was anathema to this new philosophy. Across the country, 200 formal gardens and many hedge mazes were destroyed. Ironically, the gardener who popularised this trend, Capability Brown, was master gardener at Hampton Court Palace for 20 years, but he was expressly ordered by George III not to touch the maze. Humans are not the only ones to enjoy Hampton Court Maze. The first rat maze, which was modelled directly after Hampton Court, was built in the late 1890s by Willard Small in the United States. But this maze was intended for recreation rather than experiment. It was somewhere for rats to eat and exercise when they weren't being studied. Small wanted to simulate the burrows that rats inhabit in nature. It was a psychologist, John B. Watson, who first used rat mazes for research, with a dark, sadistic bent. Once his rats had learnt the maze's layout, Watson would maim them to see if they could navigate without eyes, without whiskers, without feeling in their paws. Watson distorted his results to fit his arguments, yet he is still an influential figure in the development of behavioural psychology. In the 1950s, Claude Shannon, a foundational figure in modern computing, tried out Hampton Court Maze for himself. His own escape had taken him 20 minutes. He thought it could be done faster, so he designed his own laboratory maze and designed his own rat to go with it. The magnetic rat at first blunders through the maze, but upon subsequent runs appears to have learnt the route to the exit and navigates perfectly towards it. The real work was being done by the maze itself. A system of electronic relays underneath switched positions when the mouse's copper whiskers touched corresponding walls, storing the memory of the route. In a sense, the maze solved the mouse. This was one of the first attempts at artificial intelligence. Shannon's relays and positive feedback mechanisms were precursors to the deep learning techniques of today's AI research. So, as you navigate the tight corridors of the maze, take a good look at the other visitors whose paths you cross. Some of them may be humans, but some of them may be cyborgs or robots or artificially evolved rats, all visiting to encounter a very different history to ours, to confront their own genesis.